Pokemon training centers there or something.
Hmm.
And she's like, you got to stay awake long enough to like try to get through things, spin the thing for gifts.
She was telling me that.
And I'm like, are you serious? Yeah, if you turn one way, because it's like four towers. Like it's like a two-story building, and then there's four like seven-story towers that come off each one. So, which is really weird because then you got to go if you want to go from like 7 north to 7 south, you got to go down to 2, over the thing, then back up the other side. So it's weird. But I guess that's better than a sky bridge or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where Kevin has returned to put us all in our place.
Hello.
Kevin.
I'm back. Guess
We're
who's
happy
back?
to have you.
Shady's back again. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Life happens. When you're going through all these different things.
Yeah, don't worry. I told them that you were on a book tour for
the
for the eugenics, for your eugenics book. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Silence. Did he go? Has he dropped out?
I don't know.
Because that would suck if Kevin's suddenly gone, like right at the beginning of the show.
It's okay.
I've got you.
Yeah. We're going to do so well together.
We've got chemistry. We work. We connect on an emotional level.
This is going to be great. You and we can totally hold conversations with one another without any problem at all.
After like 20 years, there's plenty to talk about.
All the time. Yeah. It's never just weird, awkward silence that Kevin would hate.
So, did you see that sky today? You talk about blue.
Yeah, so blue.
Oh, dude, he's really gone.
Yeah, once we hit record, it goes downhill.
Yeah, that's it. We were having a great conversation.
And then as soon as you hit play, we were just like, what?
Yeah,
were we
done.
having a good conversation? Let's change this up. Remember all the good stuff we did before the show? Let's do the opposite of that when we hit record.
That pre-game conversation where we had just like a great laugh and we were hanging out amongst our friends. Yeah, no, screw that. We don't need that.
Let's
get
do
rid
some
of that.
Contrived bullshit right now.
Contrived bullshit indeed. Gary wants to know if she wants to be tagged in.
I mean, Kevin might come back. I'm just kidding. We can tap her in. Let's do it. I mean,
no. It's too late. You already made your opinion. Sorry,
that wasn't
Gabby.
My opinion. That is not
Nikki
what I said.
No.
Gabby, that is not what I said. I said tap her in. Like, we can tag her in. Like, just.
Nikki's totally against you coming on the show. Gabby,
Obviously, Gabby, I don't love you to pieces.
She can't deal with another female because, she's the star of the show.
I'm the alpha of the show. I'm just kidding. No, Gabby, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care. Just bring her on the show.
I don't give a crap. I am not that kind of woman.
Okay.
Fine, Gabby, we didn't want you on the show anyway, obviously. She rescinded her offer. Yeah, we didn't want you anyway.
So, I was going to have this whole thing. So, yeah, I know what I was going to talk about. The imminence of World War III.
Yeah, let's do this.
And nobody's talking about it. Putin is doing exactly what Hitler did 70 years ago, and no one's talking about it. And it's it's winding me up a bit. He wants to go into the Ukraine. America's like, no, you can't do that, which is what Churchill said to Hitler so many years ago, and Hitler did it anyway. And then we know what happened after that. And we're right sitting here on the brink of World War III, and nobody's talking about it. They're all talking about the virus or Brexit or Boris Johnson went to a Christmas party or Joe Biden is a useless president. And no one's talking about the fact that this time next year we could all be living in bloody bunkers because of fucking Russian bombers.
Yep. I mean, I was looking into a bunch of videos over it, and it looks, I mean, pretty imminent. But you make it sound like a third world war is going to last more than 3 hours.
Yeah, well,
Because
that's
when
the
it
other
gets
thing.
really bad, it's not going to last long. Like, hey, we're going to run over there and nuke each other, and done, end scene. World War III could be over in a day.
That's the other thing. Nuclear weapons. Putin is exactly the kind of megalomaniac nutjob that will authorize the use of Russia's vast arsenal of nuclear weapons.
Yep.
And, you know, the video game Fallout, this could very well be the future. The entire world could be nuked to fuck. And no one's talking about it. I feel like, you know, that scene in Zoolander where Will Ferrell's character is like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. That's like how I am. Because the entire world is literally on the brink.
And no one cares.
A mutual annihilation. And no one seems to give a shit.
You need to watch Don't Look Up. We're going to have to watch that.
Yeah, but do you not think that that's something? I mean, if you're my age, right? If you're 50, you lived your whole life until you were 20 thinking that that was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like every day could be the last day. And so, you know, you get used to it. It's a funny thing whenever you start to where you start to get away from it, and then you start to think, you know, it's not there. You know, it's kind of a weird comfort, you know, like, oh, we could all die today. We could die tomorrow, you know. And, you know, and then whenever that goes away, then people do. But, you know, the thing about it is, Richard, do you not think that the big problem, and Nikki, do you not think that the big problem is that there's a lot of people who want an apocalyptic future? Like they would totally dig on it because they're convinced that part of their religion means whatever, that the end times is the best times. It's like, okay, we just have to go through this. We won't really have to experience the end times because, you know, we'll be, you know, shuffled off the mortal coil to somewhere else and we'll all be happy while everybody's on earth suffering, which is a weird idea to me anyway. But, you know, that's, you know, which really, if you take it from the nth degree, it's just what, you know, those people that wanted to get on the Halley's Comet or Hale Bob or whatever. Isn't that same idea that you're just going to, you know, like Jonathan Applewhite is, you know, the thing's going to come by, pick you up, and then you're going to be happily whisked on your way and everybody else is just going to die on the planet. I don't know. I mean, but I mean, it's almost like, you know, I think, you know, if you, and I'm not picking on anybody, but I'm just saying a lot of fundamentalist people of lots of different religions are very hardcore about some things because of the fact that they almost wanted to. I mean, I was watching a program the other day about, you know, the formation of Israel and the fact that because Israel became a country and everything like that, that they would then build the third, you know, Temple of Solomon or whatever, and therefore that would start the end of the world, and we would start having Armageddon, And that was like awesome to this person. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was like, that's great news. That's what we should do. I don't quite understand it, but
I don't either. I understand preppers to an extent, but that whole, woohoo, I want to live in the aftermath of, it's not what you think it's going to be.
well, no, and I think that
If you're
it's a,
so narcissistic, you think that living past humanity is a good idea. You know,
well,
Right. And meanwhile,
when we're done, we're done. That's it.
yeah.
You know, you
but
can say, "Oh, I'm going to survive with a bunch of my mates," but if you don't have enough genetic diversity to support a new population, then you're done anyway.
yeah, I
So
think
you
that Mad
might as well
Max.
just.
Yeah, yeah. I
Sorry.
think Mad Max only is fun for a few days. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
think if you had to live like that, it would be great. And I think that that's exactly what it is. But a lot of these times, whenever you get into these situations with a lot of these preppers, they don't admit what they'll be willing to do. At one point in time, they act like, "Oh well, I'm just going to sit here. I've got my bunker. I'm just going to defend it." Blah blah blah. But they don't admit the fact that eventually they're going to have to go out and scavenge and look for crap. You know what I mean? Which
Yep.
involves a lot of big moral choices that maybe they're not prepared to do. And
Listen, if it's survival and it's between me surviving and somebody else, bitches getting eaten.
yeah, I get what you're saying, Nikki. I'm 100% with you. Look at this. I mean,
I don't even know if I would feel bad.
well, I think that I mean this is the thing with like I was talking about when I was in the hospital with you guys earlier, and I said nurses are obviously overworked and underappreciated and everything like that. But I also do notice that they do see things in a sort of a slightly transactional. I mean, they feel really, really bad about anything that happens, but then at the same time, you can't necessarily feel bad about people who are put themselves in that position, because you'd go crazy. You know what I mean? So in a way, I think as a nurse, and you tell me, as a person who works in an operating room, you've seen a ton of people who've put themselves in a shitty position to be there. And if you had to like nom 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 on them, you'd be like, yeah, okay. Would you?
If I had to like
Take their
I don't
stuff.
know.
Let's just say take their stuff, not actually eat them. I'm not expecting you to do the you know, full Bob.
Massacre.
No, I'm just saying, you didn't have to eat them personally, but I
Oh,
mean,
personally, I don't
if
have
you
to.
know that if you knew that, like it was after the apocalypse and this person had died, and you'd say, okay, I'm going to go around their place and take their stuff, you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
no problem.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Nope, no problem.
From
Wouldn't hurt my
SoFlo,
feelings. And if I'm about to kick it and the person didn't die, would I take their stuff? Absolutely. I
Yeah,
have
I
a
think.
very strong survival instinct.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? I mean, it is odd because like I said, I had major surgery the last couple of weeks, and then I couldn't defend myself right now. You know what I mean? At least
Yeah.
not in a physical way. I mean, I could, using a weapon, but I couldn't do it, from the standpoint of, if somebody breaks into my house and wants to fight with me with a fist fight, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, if I was in a situation where, somebody was outside and they wanted to take my stuff and they really wanted it bad enough, they could have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that. So,
just from the chat, SoFlo, there's so many parallels between World War II and now is ridiculous. I know, and I just feel like I'm nuts every time I point that out, SoFlo. I feel like nobody listens, that everyone's just talking about shite, and I try to point out the fact that we are like seriously in deep shit right now, and nobody listens.
yeah, I think you're exactly right, Richard. I believe it. I've said this for quite a long time that the the correlations between things line up so relatively true that it scares the crap out of me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the funny part about it is, can we have a World War II style battle ever again? Because from that standpoint, I mean, um, I think we would be tempted. Somebody would be tempted to use like nuclear bomb, even in a small tactical way, and
There'd have to be consequences so severe that a country wouldn't dare even think of it, to prohibit the use of nuclear weapons in World War III.
Yeah,
right.
the
Like,
thing is
I'm
what
I'm a big fan of America, but I sincerely think that nuking Japan was bullshit, and that's where I'm at.
Well, I think you can go down a weird road there, because I mean, a lot of people say we didn't have another bomb to nuke them more again, so we had the material for those 2 bombs we made, and that was it. So if they hadn't surrendered, then that was it. No, Stalin was very afraid of having a 2-front war. You know, whenever the Germans attacked him in Barbarossa, and we never consider that he thought that the Germans were idiotic because they opened a 2-front war against the West and the
He
Soviet
was.
Union.
We didn't win World War II,
Yeah.
and I need to emphasize this enough. We didn't win World War II. Hitler lost. And
Right.
that is a very important distinction. We only won World War II because Hitler started believing the hype.
Right.
He genuinely thought he was invincible. So,
but Russia was such a large country; they were afraid. And then they actually had a war in 1905. They had a war with Japan, and so they did have lots of troops on the other side. So once they had figured out that they were going to not attack to the north and to the south, they freed up some troops there. So whenever the war in Europe was over, Russians started to move all their troops to the Japanese side, and people will say that Japan surrendered because they wanted to surrender to us and not the Soviets, because the Soviets were right there. You know what I mean? And they were ready to whoop some ass on some Japanese folks, which wouldn't have gone well. You know what I mean? Because from that standpoint, Soviet troops, if you really look at it, some of them were very, very ruthless. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah, look, the Soviet Union was worse than the Third Reich in a lot of ways. I
well,
mean, people remember Hitler as a bad dude, but Hitler, the Holocaust, as horrible as it is to say, that only killed 8 million Jewish people. Stalin had over 128 million of his own people executed. I mean, the
right,
Soviet Union was in a lot of ways worse than the Nazis.
right. And I think that was one of those things where it was strange bad fellows. And I think that a lot of people who, like Patton had said, well, let's just deny that the Germans have surrendered. Let's get them on our side and attack the Soviets. There were people who said things like that.
Now, look what happened after World War II. We had 30-year Cold War with Russia.
Right. But
Does anyone want that to happen again?
I think,
Dean Cooper from the chat. Sorry. Wall Street, Fleet Street, Eurodollar would lose out. I think you're underestimating the narcissistic process. We're talking about Putin and Putin's desire. If he wants, he doesn't literally give a shit about anything except his own legacy. it won't come down to money. World War II wasn't about money. That's one of the unique things about the war. It wasn't about money. It was about Hitler's ego. And World War III, if this happens, will be about Putin's ego, or depending on your point of view, Boris Johnson and Joe Biden's ego.
Mm. Well, and you've got to take into effect that account that in a lot of ways, Africa, the Middle East, a lot of those different areas are being influenced severely by communist China. We never talk about them anymore, and yet they're building sort of bases in the middle of the sea to expand their area sphere of influence. And for example, they go on, I think Iran and Russia and China did joint operational things like 2 weeks before we ended up bombing Iran the last time. You know what I mean? Nobody ever talks about that stuff. But I think it's funny that from that colonial standpoint, Europe has really lost Africa, and a lot of that influence now is coming from China instead, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, because Europe did a pretty crappy job in Africa, if you really want to know about it. But this sort of small ideology, that fights on a global scale. I mean, you can see it. You can see that the people are up for it. You know what I mean? And I don't think that they necessarily understand it. What it is, because World War II was a copy of World War One. And so you do kind of wonder to yourself, how similar would this be? Is it just going to be one of these days that Russia's going to decide, okay, well, I'll just roll through Ukraine and take half of Poland then, or what? I mean, what? And at that point in time, what are we going to do about it?
Well, that's literally where we're at.
Yeah.
We said to Hitler, don't invade Poland, else there'll be trouble. He invaded Poland, and we've said to Putin, don't invade Ukraine, else there'll be trouble. And he's going to invade Ukraine.
Yeah, but I think that we're still in the old I'm over. I almost think that Ukraine is going to be thought of as Germany taking over Austria. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, well, there's some Russian-speaking people in the Ukraine, so therefore they probably want to be part of Russia. You know what I mean? And so
I'm all for that. Let all the former members of the USSR rejoin Russia. I don't give a shit, but let's not make this our problem.
Yeah. Well, the problem is and like I said, I was talking to several Ukrainians when I was actually in the hospital. There were nurses, and the funny part about it is that that was the thing about it is from their estimate, they thought that the Americans were going to just sell them out. They're just going to let them go. They'll talk a lot about it and then just let it go. That's their opinion. Not mine.
You know what? Sadly, yep.
Yeah.
It's not their problem at the end of the day.
It's really not, but we're notoriously good at sticking our nose in other people's, problems for profit.
Well, it's not just for profit. I mean, it's for the idea.
Do you think it's because we care? Do you think it's because we're a free nation? We want other nations to be free? No.
No, I don't believe in that. But I think it's an idea of, for whatever reason, the sphere of influence that America put out for a long, long time, was a big, huge sphere, and it became a superpower. And that was one of those things where, you ended up paying for that. I mean, Americans, let's face it, Britain and Sweden and France and Germany and everything like that couldn't have socialized healthcare if America didn't pay so much to defend Europe. It's a fact. So in a lot of ways, American citizens have given up a lot so that other citizens can live so well. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, because that's that sort of hegemony that you're displacing over other people. Is it worth it to have that much power or not? Well, that's the question of Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Should it be an insular, we're going to defend ourselves and nobody else? Or is it going to be a situation where, yeah, we realize that, if we lose Europe and we lose these other just places, and we're an island alone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. And I don't think anybody's ever figured out what the right answer is. That's a matter of opinion. I mean, lots of people have strong opinions about it, but you don't want to be fighting some Cuban in your field. You know what I mean? In your front yard.
Could you imagine what the difference would be if Trump were in office right now instead of Biden?
Well, there'd be a lot of, in my opinion, not a bit as a person who doesn't really like Trump that much, there'd be a lot of talking, but I think it would be even more clear that here you go, here's the red carpet, and here's Ukraine, and here's the key to the city.
Yeah.
I think that he would just say, yeah, this doesn't involve us. Let's just get out of it. Because even Germany's weird about it, because they're worried about the pipelines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the thing. There's no Europe has used all the oil or the natural gas. All the things that's off the North Sea gas is gone. And, they either get on the stick and become completely fossil free, or or Russia's going to have an influence on what happens.
Yeah.
My opinion. What do you think, Richard?
My original point stands that, we're talking about it now, but apart from us, who's talking about this? That's what I really don't understand, is how, and I said it earlier, I'll say it again, we are perilously close to another world war, and nobody's talking about it. And it just...
And the way that, the thing is when they do talk about it, it's not explaining how detrimental this whole situation is. It's like most people don't really know what's going on because they're getting little snippets from news, maybe. But most of the time, especially in America, if you're not watching BBC or something, you're not going to get world news.
No.
Not until it's already hit. Like, once there is a war, then sure, we're going to cover it. But until then, like, Americans are left in the dark a lot of times about any of that stuff.
Well, I always wondered what it would be like, what it was like to, listen to Edward R. Murrow talk about the bombing of London. You know what I mean? And you were listening to that in America, and you thought, oh, well, that sucks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And yet, you're talking about 30, 40, 50,000 people that died in that. And yet, and as a person who grew up in Northern Ireland, whenever 9/11 came, oh, well, the world's changed now, right? The world's changed now because somebody blew something up somewhere, sorry. Somebody's been blowing shit up someplace my whole life, from that standpoint. But I'm just saying,
Americans are good at being apathetic until it happens to them.
Here.
And then it's a world crisis.
Yeah. When it happens here, mm-hmm. and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying when it happens here, then it becomes an issue. So this is the thing. But then it depends on what it is. It has to be a bomb. Not a mass shooting, because a mass shooting doesn't even make a difference here.
They happen every day.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. So
Gene Cooper from the chat, we need nuclear power. Absolutely. More resources should be poured into nuclear power, as Soflo says. Putin said he misses the days of the Soviet Union, and that's what I'm talking about. You know,
Yeah.
you're dealing with a man with a huge ego, and no one seems to be taking it seriously.
Well, I
And
think, yeah. I mean, I've never liked Putin because of the fact that he's a former, GRU, which is attached to the East German, um, intelligence unit, KGB type person. Of course, he's going to try everything from here to. I mean, let's say these folks know how to manipulate people, and we never talk about the fact that. I mean, whenever you are sending in, um, a politician to go up against a trained intelligence officer, which Putin is, it's like sending the lamb to the slaughter. And yet we have no problem in doing it. You know what I mean? We think, oh
mm,
well, let's look at it from this standpoint. Okay, well, we're going to send Trump down there. We're going to send. I mean, the KGB's had a file on Trump since 1974. I mean, they know every time he takes a shit. But because he was married to, a former another, Ivana was from a Soviet bloc country. Of course, they're going
mm,
to know everything he does, you know, and have a psychological makeup on him. So if you're not almost training somebody to act against their own psychological issues, then they already know how to push your buttons. That's what I mean. That's been happening since the World War II. Again, how many forensic psychologists that America employed to try to figure out what Hitler's weird kinks were. You know what I mean? And we wrote
mm.
books and books and books and books and books about it. You know what I mean? And so this is the thing that nobody ever takes the psychological aspect into it. But this is the thing that we've got to realize that you know, although
For the chat's
um,
benefit, the GRU was completely different from the Soviet Union.
well, the
No,
GRU was
not the Soviet, from the KGB. Sorry.
yeah, well, he was attached to the GRU, I think, if you look it up.
Hmm. It was a completely different organization.
Right.
Ugh, I used to know what it meant. It's
It's
Glavnoy,
yeah,
Razvedi, Vatalnoy, Upralini.
yeah, the
That's what it means.
East German secret police or
I
whatever.
just came.
What?
What
What?
is
I
that?
was
An
joking.
admission?
I was joking over him knowing what it meant.
Oh,
I was
there
teasing.
you
I
go.
did. The only reason I know that
It's
is
because
because
you're a giant fucking nerd.
no, it's because in school we had to do uh, a 5 minute talk on a particular subject, and I picked the Soviet Union as my subject, and I gave a 5 minute talk about the Soviet Union.
Oh, very
Yeah,
cool.
as long as it wasn't about MI6 agents who defected to the Soviet Union, that would have taken more than 5 minutes.
Oh, what was that dude's name?
Kim
That
Philby.
absolute no. I'm not talking about MI6 agents. I'm talking about like rich eating shit cunts that defected to the Soviet Union. There was a really famous one who was a complete dickhead and died of alcohol poisoning alone in a flat in Russia. Guy
Yeah.
something.
But I
Uh,
think that's one of those things where we don't really realize that why people do things. I think it was funny because a lot of those guys that had were assisting the Soviet Union back then, and the reason that they did it was because secretly they were homosexuals, and just like in the case of Alan Turing, who was a homosexual, ends up saving the country using some computer that fixes it all, and then gets convicted of being a homosexual. You know what I mean? And so therefore, because Russia said we don't give a shit whether you're gay or not, you know that's the things that motivate people are like you said, Richard, very rarely the money. You know what I mean? Even
yeah,
whenever you look at the guys who were doing it for America, like the big names like Aldrich Ames and stuff like that or whatever. They weren't doing it for big sections of money. They were doing it because they just had been tired of the system here and everything like that, and they ended up being. I mean, it wasn't even for sex. You would think that, in most cases, men do things for sex and money, but that's not always true. You know.
There's nah. Alexander the Great did not conquer the known world for money or sex. He did it for the sake of his legacy. And Hitler did not start World War II for the sake of money. He did it because his ego told him it was all right. And Putin was more than capable of doing the same. And the fact that nobody seems to understand this fact drives me insane. I feel like one of those people when the pandemic first started that had been talking about the fact that an artificial super virus might escape and do some damage, and they're all like, "Oh, I told you, I warned you, but would you listen?" Oh no, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just we
Well,
are
yeah.
perilously close to annihilation right now. This is the worst it's ever been, and nobody's talking about it,
Well,
and
I
it
think that.
drives me insane.
Yeah, but I think that what you realize is, and you're starting to get this in Britain too. I know this because of the fact that a lot of like conservatives or friends that I knew in the army won't watch the BBC anymore. That's it. They don't consider it to be even. They don't consider it to be fair. They don't consider it to be that. I mean, and in America, you get that too. You see, you've got that sort of idea of. And I always like it whenever somebody quotes me a story about America from RT. Whenever I say, that stands for Russia Today. That literally stands for Russia Today, right? And you're some super, 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 you know, American, patriot, and you're saying to me, "Oh, look at all this stuff from Russia Today," and that's where you, that's where you find that you're getting your news from Sputnik and Russia Today, which are propagandic arms of the Soviet, or not the Soviet, the Russian government. So they are feeding you exactly what you want to hear, and that's why nobody's caring, because you're being distracted all the time. It's like one current distraction after another,
Right? Yeah, no,
uh,
no, I get that, but this
but
is
I don't.
important.
Yeah, but I don't know how you fix that, because even if at this point in time you had one source of news that just told you basically the facts, that nobody
No
would
one would
listen to.
believe it because there'd
Yeah.
be a million fake news sites online. It would be like, "Oh no, this is all bollocks, and here's why."
Right. And I think that a lot of times, we look at the news as nowadays, um, news comes with opinion. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if you look at anything on CNN or anything on Fox after like 5 o'clock, there's no, it's all tainted with opinion. You know, maybe
yeah,
you like that person's opinion, maybe you don't like that person's opinion, but you're getting a lot of opinion, and that's the way the news is going to be shaped towards you.
Yeah.
And so, probably that's the weird thing about it is that, the only defense against it, sadly, is to not watch it. But then again, is that good? You know what I mean? Putting your
I
hand
don't
in,
watch the news. Like
put,
I'll go looking for news, like the Russia thing. I'll
yeah,
go looking at what I want to look at. But do I watch the absolutely not.
yeah. So, I mean,
I
that's the
don't
thing that, yeah,
because
that's
I don't want to be depressed, first of all. And I think
right.
that a lot of mental health issues, especially lately with the pandemic and stuff, is just people consuming like all this fear mongering. It's always like the worst storm in the history that's about to come, you know, blow down
Right.
your house or something, or 20 people died in something, or it's always like a state of fear. And I would
Right.
much rather look for the news in the countries I want to look for the news in the countries. I
Yeah.
don't want to be bombarded with all of this bull crap. And maybe that sounds like I'm being ignorant, on purpose, but generally if a news article or something comes up to me that makes me afraid or really angry or really sad or something, I'm going to delve into it with every source that I could possibly find to
Right.
confirm or deny. And most of the time it's not as bad or as good as what's being portrayed.
Right. And I think that's part of the thing is that I always look at it like this. There's basically as it stands now, in my opinion, there's 1% of the population that are on each side, each extreme, that would probably start bombing and shooting each other, in America.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then there's about the 10% on each side that would watch, absolutely jingoistic news programs, and then the
Yeah.
rest of us would prefer not to know anything about it. But the problem with it is that again, a lot of these folks that are insistent on, and you can see that I mean, the West is kind of an interesting place out here because we always have sort of these standoffs. There's always some large standoff somewhere every couple of years and everything. And I
Mhm.
think that part of the thing that they're trying to do is to suck the rest of the population in. Like you'll get 150 people take over some, field in Oregon or some place in Oregon or whatever. And then, everybody will flock there, and then the feds will come in, and they're sort of hoping that that whole area gets swept up into the motion of it and keeps on going. I mean, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which is an interesting thing, which luckily at this point in time has never happened, you know. But even at the July 6th thing, it didn't quite catch fire, if you know what I mean. And so there's always one person who gets shot, and then that person gets to become a martyr for the cause and everything like that, and then they go away and then they come back. But this is I don't think that's not a new thing. It's not something that's was caused by any president, but it's always been there. It's just that people are choosing to see it now, and so therefore people are afraid of it. But I can tell you, there's been people who wanted to form their own. I mean, I live in a place where people want to form their own county. You know what I mean? Freedom County. I live in Freedom County as far as they're concerned. And so,
The sovereign citizen
yeah, exactly.
mentality.
That's what I'm saying. And so that's the thing that you'll find about it is that Ammon Bundy is running for president of, I mean, not governor of Idaho, and he's got an opinion, but he's also one of those people that would believe that there's nobody higher than the sheriff that should be making decisions on law enforcement in any county. Feds don't belong there. You know what I mean? I'm sure he's not going to feel that way whenever he's trying to get the 4 or 5 grand that the Fed sends for every citizen in Idaho, you know, as a relief money. But that's politics. So what do you do?
What do you do indeed, Mickey?
I've been contributing. I'm that person who just it'll happen if it happens. I mean, what am I supposed to do about it?
That's a fair assessment, and I agree with that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I hate
It's
to say that, but the scary thing about the whole situation is there's no control for you and I or
yeah,
anybody that isn't a government official. Like we have to like put our life in their hands and hope that they make the correct decision. Um, I'm a control freak, and that's not necessarily an easy thing for me to just be
uh,
like, yeah, I'm gonna just trust you guys to do the right thing. I think we're hosed, but then again, I have zero faith in the competence of my country.
It's a funny thing because America, you look at it, America is unwittingly very well prepared, although we don't look like we are. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Well, I'm not trying to like be anti-American
no, no,
or
no.
like at
I'm not.
all.
I'm not.
I'm really anti just politicians in general.
Oh,
No
yeah.
matter
Believe
what
me.
country they're from.
No,
Um,
terrible.
I don't trust any of them. It's never going to be for the benefit of somebody. It is
Right.
always going to be for the benefit of themselves
Right.
and money or ego or whatever. It's never going to be like this is what's right for the people surrounding. It's
Right.
always going to be this is right for clout. This is
Yeah.
right for my midterms.
Yeah. Well, and it is funny that like and this is a debate like that that you can make on a philosophical level. You could say, was the French Revolution the closest thing to getting it all right by killing all the politicians? You know what I mean? And then at what point in time do they
More will
just
just
start
come
kill?
in their place. They just
Well,
keep coming.
right,
There's always going to be some guy that's better at bullshitting people than other guys. And
right,
that's
Well,
all politicians are.
to me, the French Revolution has always been about failure. The 1% have really only one job, and that's to stop us that aren't in the 1% from realizing, hey, hang on a minute, these motherfuckers have everything, and we've got, we're barely scraping by. How is that fair?
right,
What's stopping us from killing them all?
right.
And the French aristocrats, they not followed, failed in that one job from, keeping the peasants in their place. So they all got killed, which is, what they deserved.
Yeah, and I think but it is interesting that because after the French Revolution, I think that a lot of things sort of changed in the idea of why you would need to have these sort of industrial barons at the top. It becomes interesting that for a lot of people they think, okay, well, those folks are rich, so we should give them more money, so therefore they know what to do with it, so that they can improve our lives, rather than it's a top down approach rather than a bottom up approach.
Right. And
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 a
we
lot of,
see how the top down approach is working and has been working. It doesn't.
well, what happens is that, if you have to spend the money in your own country, that may be relevant. But if you don't have to spend the money here, or you can offshore it or whatever, then it makes no bit of difference. You know what I mean?
Right.
It might make a big difference to the bank in the Cayman Islands, but it's not going to make any difference to your job. But
Exactly.
that's an argument that, again, you see that all the time. Whether are people acting again? I don't know the answer. Let's put it that way. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. But at the same time, you do see people arguing against increased wages for workers
Oh, I
that are
know.
workers. And you see all these different things that say, oh, well, uh, this just causes all these. Yeah, sure, we live in an area of inflation right now, but I don't care who is in charge, was going to be in charge. You super fuel the economy by sticking all this money into it. Anybody who's the president right now is going to have that problem. I mean, I don't understand how people don't get that. Worse,
Right.
you have a supply line issue because of the fact that we weren't prepared for a pandemic. So now we've got to get all these little bits and pieces all over the world, and that's causing a shortage. And then you've got super inflation because all these people pumped it into the market,
Yep.
and now all of a sudden everybody's worried about the fact, all these different factors that. And I'm sorry, nobody controls the price of gas that's in the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that they should pass the Presidential Gas Price Act, so the president can pick what the price of gas is. That's just not how that works.
Right.
Well, we can use the pandemic as a sort of baseline moving forward, because we can look at the pandemic and say, okay, the COVID virus was dangerous enough that everyone wanted to talk about it, and the government warned us about it. But the fact that the government's not warning us about the Russian thing, does that
They
mean
kind
it's
of
less?
are, though. I mean, Biden got on television, was like basically, hey, guys, I get it that you love the Ukraine and you live there, but if you're an American citizen, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right, and
He
that to
came
me
out.
worried me more than anything else.
Well, they
That
can't cause panic, and that's the thing is like there's so much pandering, and yet you have to do it in a very like specific way so that you're
Yeah.
not causing widespread panic and people looting and just losing their minds. But at
Yeah.
the same time, we do need to be real about things. We need to talk about it in a calm manner and
Right.
not just like, gloss it over with, guys, it's probably not a good idea to be in Ukraine right now, just in case Putin does some crazy shit. Okay, bye. Like that was
Well, it's an interesting thing in the fact that Biden sort of looks like the great capitulator so far. You know what I mean? Even though we knew we were all going to withdraw from Afghanistan, the fact that he said, "Okay, everybody get on a plane, we're getting out of Afghanistan," pissed everybody off. Even though we all knew, anybody who knew anything knew that was coming. The
right.
Afghanis knew it. The Taliban knew it. And so the weird thing about it is that in this case, again, this is another thing that's going to come back and hit Biden, because it'll be like, oh, now he's warning people to get out of there because because what was the thing that everybody was pissed about with the Afghanistani thing is that there were still Americans left in Afghanistan. And so now he's coming out and saying, well, if you're Ukrainian and if you can get out, get out. Now,
Well, he wasn't telling all Ukrainians. He was literally saying American
no,
citizens
no,
that are
no,
currently in
no. Yeah,
Ukraine.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what I
Got you.
I misspoke.
Gotcha.
But that's the thing. No matter what you do, he's going to look weak in somebody's eyes, and that's the thing. And that's almost a that's, like I said, that almost plays into Richard's point, is that half of the argument against us being strong comes from people in this country. You know what I mean? We love making it sound like we're weak, that we are completely weak. It's not me that's weak. It's not Fox News that's weak, but our government is weak. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
We have that ability to separate our country from ourselves, which I think is weird, and I don't know. As a person who grew up in Northern Ireland, my queen was my queen. That was the way.
Right.
Is that me or Kevin?
What? That's. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin just cut out again.
Okay.
Hey, we only got 6 minutes left, so it kind of was perfect.
It's a good time for him to cut out.
Good time for him to cut out. We didn't talk about anything else. We'll have to talk about his hospital antics next time.
Yeah. Do you think I'm just being paranoid?
Oh, absolutely not. Nah. But I do want to say that most countries and people understand that nuclear isn't the way to go. It's like we have them, but we know that we can't necessarily use them, because if one person throws a nuke, I mean, you might as well say goodbye to your own country at that point, because they're going to be thrown back at you. So
Exactly.
so my thing is if there's always like, rumors about wars about to start or whatever, but if it happens, I don't think it would be nuclear. I think there would be a lot of threats, but I don't. Putin's not an idiot, and he knows if he tossed a nuke somewhere, it's over. So I don't think you're paranoid or upset over nothing, because it's really intense. It's a crap situation.
Yeah. I think because like this is just my thing is that I feel like I'm mental.
Nope, you are absolutely correct.
I don't know
All
if
right.
it'll come down
Yeah.
to nuclear war, but I'm pretty sure we're on the verge of World War Three.
We could be.
You back, Kevin?
Yeah. Sorry about that. My computer keeps restarting. I guess it's because I haven't used it in 3 weeks. So now I'm on my phone. So hopefully this works all right. Sounds all right. But it sounds like we're almost done anyway. But I would say that from Richard, you're not crazy. I think you're right on the money. The problem with it, a lot of it is like everything is Boris Johnson the type of person who's going to stand up against Putin or not? And is Angela Merkel? I guess those are the two people I would worry about the most, and sort of those. You look at in Europe itself, um, Germany, uh, uh, France, and Britain would be the strongest three nations that would try to repel it. And I don't think that any of them are into it. I don't think any of them have the will to do it. So I think they'll just hack it up and say these people speak Russian. You can have the eastern part. These people can have the western part, and then they'll leave it there for there. Uh, and Putin will make it look like he's a hero, and at that point in time, we'll look like we saved the war by appeasing him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be like one of those peace in our time moments until Putin decides he's going to do something else. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, this is like World War Two, isn't it? Hitler invades the Reich, the Reichland, and nobody cares. The Rhineland, there we go, and no one cares. And then Hitler invades Austria, no one cares, and Poland's where the line is.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's I think that that's going to be a major point of seeing how it is, and so there'll be a lot of uh, face saving maneuvers after the fact. But again, I almost don't think anybody's got the money to do this. You know what I mean? I mean, uh, we've got America's got no
Yeah,
appetite for it. We're still haven't even got out of Iraq yet. You know, 20 some
and
years
World
later.
War Two happened in the middle of America's Great Depression. Well, World War Two pulled America out of the Great Depression, but
Yeah.
the point is, this isn't going to come down to money. This is going to come down to what one man thinks he can get away with.
Well, I completely agree with you there, and I think that we'll have to see how it goes. But I
I
I
mean,
think
I get the point of view that most people would say that everybody thinks that the world comes down to money these days, and I'll agree with you that money is everything and everything is money. But every once in a while, something happens that has nothing to do with money whatsoever, and that's how world wars get started. World War One, World War Two, neither of those wars were about money. You
but
know,
people got exceedingly rich at it.
yeah, people
You
got
know,
rich from it, but the
right?
wars themselves were not about money. Kaiser Wilhelm was trying to create a new empire. Hitler was trying to create a new empire.
Right. But I think that the fact of the matter and I think that one of the things that we don't really realize is that a lot of multinational corporations and things like that we love stem from, want to put it that way, countries. And so You know, who knows? You know, who knows? And how are we going to how are we going to deal with that from a standpoint of, you know, if General Motors or Ford's making weapons for both sides, you know, like they did in the Second World War. We never talk about it. You know, we don't talk about it that General Motors owned Opel, and Ford made trucks in Europe, and they made trucks here, and that kind of idea of, you know, making things for both sides, and that sort of idea of large multinational corporations that will end up having to, because of the nature of the way things are made anymore, sell pieces of kit to both sides. So is that larger than? And this is one of the things that I don't know the answer to. At one point in time, corporations will be larger than countries, and more powerful in a way. If you think about it, Apple almost is.
I was
You
about
know
to
what I
say they
mean?
already are.
Right.
That leads to another interesting question: is the world too small now for countries?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But you know, that's one of those things where I know that we do have some serious issues with you know, almost. And it would be interesting to see who fights these wars. Is it going to be like you know? I mean, if you look at like Africa after, you know, the Second World War, you know, you have sort of groups of ex uh, professional soldiers forming mercenary groups and going around fighting other population groups and everything like that, because none of us wanted to get involved in it. You know, it seemed like back in the day, if you wanted to be, um, you know, part of anything, and you were fighting in Africa, you were either Cuban, which is weird, and or, you know, some ex-British soldier, you know, that was fighting there, or Rhodesian or something like that. And so, are we going to go back to that level of, you know, mercenaries, where we're just happy enough that these corporations hire these groups to protect our interests, and that's what they do. You know, it's a weird thing. Who are these soldiers that Russia's putting in there? Are they mercenaries, or are they actual soldiers of the,
Thanks for listening, Dean.
yeah, you know, soldiers of the state? You know, because a lot of people will say, okay, in Syria, U.S. Special Forces soldiers got in a fight with Soviet mercenaries, and nobody knows about that. You know what I mean? So what is it that we don't know, and what is it that we're prepared to do, and what they're prepared to do? Are they willing to send in mercenary forces to try to say, okay, well, we're not really Soviet soldiers, or Russian soldiers, or whatever. I don't know the answer. So it's a lot of big questions. But I'm glad that we have a United Nations to sort this out. That's the way I look at it. Aren't you glad too, Richard?
No, I don't.
Nope.
I don't have any faith whatsoever. I'm deeply concerned right now,
Yeah.
and I'm really, really, really worried that the world isn't talking, because like the pandemic happened and everyone was talking about it, and the fact that nobody's talking about this is making me more worried about how concerned our world leaders are, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but do you not think from that standpoint, what was the thing about the pandemic was is that we were never ever on the same page,
Yeah.
ever. And so they talked about it like it was a division, and it was all Democratic hoax. We shouldn't be talking about this. This is bull crap. And then it was China made it in a lab, and all these questions that nobody's ever really answered came up, and we were talking about whether we should wear a mask or not because that was stupid, or we should or we shouldn't, or whatever. Whereas in this, again, I would think, again, we are the fact that we're not talking about it means that we're not divided on it completely yet. You know what I mean? If we'd been
That's
talking
true.
about this for 3
That's
months,
true. It's not. It
we
means that we
we
kind of have our crap together.
yeah. If we'd been talking about it for 3 months, by now, one side would have said we're for it, and the other side would have said we're against it, and you'd be anti-American if you said we should, we should do this or we should do that because Democrats do that. You know what I mean? I'm so tired of that division, and like
Yeah.
we see half of our country as literally scum of the earth, and the other, we literally see people in other countries as better than half of our citizens, and
Yeah.
I don't get it. But anyway,
So,
so I
Gabby,
think
don't talk like that. No, eres un perdedor, eres un ganador. Yeah? Sorry, Kevin, continue.
no, that's I mean, all I'm trying to say is for example, um, I look at it like this: Nikki and I may not agree on things. A lot of times it sounds like we don't, or whatever. But I think the fact of the matter is that we can respect each other's opinion and move on without trying to like come to blows or trying to like make ourselves feel better by putting the other person down. I don't have to win. I just have to sort of say my opinion. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I think that's just one of those things where we've got to this triumphalism about being right or wrong or whatever. We sort of just need to pull it together. And in a lot of ways, conflict does that. And so, you know, again, this is one of those things where people could say, "Oh, well, it was never better than during the war because we all came together." You still see that, Richard. If you go to England, some people say the war was terrible, but they all felt the same. We all pulled together for one thing, and so they miss that
Did you
nostalgia.
just say if I go to England?
Well,
Yeah. If
no,
you
no.
go to
If you go,
England,
no, if well, I meant to say if you
If
talk
I
to
go to
somebody,
England, well, okay, that's a
if you
bit of a
see if
trek
you
for
talk to
me.
somebody, if you talk to somebody who's older, right? Somebody who grew up during the Second World War, a lot of times they'll talk about how they pulled together, about how the community came together, how differences didn't matter so much, and all these things that didn't everybody was just pulling together. No, that was half of that's
I
bullshit
wouldn't
because
know. My granddad didn't serve in World War II. He
no,
died
but
in Auschwitz.
your grandfather did.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. He fell out of a guard tower.
you're a dick.
Jeez.
Oh, that's awful.
That is my favourite World War II joke, and thank
Oh
you, Kevin. Thank you
God.
for letting me be able to use it.
Yeah,
Holy
well,
crap. I knew it. I
I
was like, what's the
I
deal?
teed that one up for you,
Okay,
didn't I?
seriously. Yeah, you teed that one up. Thank you. Obviously, that was just a joke. No, my
Yeah.
granddad was actually a mechanic. No, took down. What was it? 27 German planes in World War II,
Yeah.
I believe. That's accurate. Yeah, worst mechanic the Luftwaffe ever had.
Right. All right. All I'm saying is,
You got
all I'm
Kevin.
saying,
Kevin's done. He's like, that being said, bye.
all I'm saying is,
Okay, sorry. I should have quit at
you
the
do,
Auschwitz one.
you,
That was brilliant.
you do
Sorry.
talk to people, and they say, okay, we were all on the same page, and that was the last time we were all on the same page. We weren't on the same page in Korea. In America, we definitely weren't on the same page in Vietnam, and in Britain we weren't on the same page in like the Malayan, campaigns and things like that. So, we, or the Suez Canal or whatever. So the thing that I'll say about it is that was the last time sort of we all thought we were all on the same boat rowing in the same direction. And so, there's something to be said about that. And you know, I hope beyond all hope that it can just get worked out, but I think that part of the reason why they don't talk about it, Richard, is so that we do become concerned about it. So therefore, when we are concerned about it as people and we've thought about it for a long time, then we are willing to accept whatever they come up with. You know what I mean?
That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've thought about it for a while. We thought, okay, well, this could be Third World War, and then they say, okay, well, we're giving up a quarter of Ukraine and some rights to this pipeline, and then you're like, sweet, that's awesome. That's a negotiating tactic that people do. They put you on the ceiling and then peel you off, and then you're happy about whatever you get. And if anything, these people are salespeople. Other than Putin has to be somewhat of a business genius. How else could he become such a billionaire, one of the world's richest people, if after being this sort of low ranking sort of mid-level intelligence officer, unless you had some smarts, you know what I mean, and therefore you don't want to do that. Now, part of I would say that part of what Putin's also looking for is the unfreezing of some of the assets that these Russian oligarchs have in other parts of the world. And so what happens if Putin says, "Well, I won't invade Ukraine, but you unfreeze my assets in the New York Stock Exchange"? Would we as Americans be like, "Oh well, fucking yeah, no"? Half of us would be like, "Yeah, you should do that,"
Yeah.
because half of Americans, believe it or not, think Putin's the shit. You know what I mean? They really, really do. And I don't understand that either. But
Me
anyway,
neither.
that's the way that goes. Yeah. So that's my opinion.
That's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah.
Mama always said there was a. Nah, mess that one up. Okay, yeah, good one.
I don't know what the hell you're doing, dude.
We are way over, but we did stay on
Yeah.
a single topic the entire time without
We
getting
stuck.
off topic. What
We
happens?
Well, that's what happens when Kevin has a heart attack.
Yeah.
We're able
I'm
to stay on topic,
serious.
dealing with
I was
the futility of existence. Kevin has learned the ability to stay on topic.
right. And,
It
and I
might
will
just be
say,
that he's heavily medicated.
Could be that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have no idea what I'm taking. All I know is that twice a day I take a fistful of pills, and that's a lot.
That's Nikki's ideal existence.
That is literally my existence already. Twice a day,
Yeah.
chronic
So
or like chronic pain and all that stuff. Man, I got so many pills for it, and none of them are opioids, so it just makes me loopy and tired all the time. And then I'm like, why am I so tired? I got off at noon today, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on a crap ton of pills.
well, that's what I'm saying, Nikki. I mean, whenever I look at my wife, or I look at you, well, sometimes I look at you, or I hear you talk. I mean, and all I'll say is that if you're a man and you think you're having a heart attack, even if it doesn't hurt that bad in your chest, go get checked out.
Yes.
Because I was still walking around and everything like that. My wife said, "Oh, go. You should get checked out by the EMT." And I was like, "No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it." Checked my blood. Uh, my pulse was 70 in the 70s. My blood
Mm-mm.
pressure was not elevated. My
Mhm.
EKG was fine, and I was
Yeah.
I was having a heart attack. Nobody could figure that
Yep.
out,
Yep. I
and
mean,
it
it can
kind of
happen.
hurt.
Yeah, you can't go take your blood pressure and rely on that to tell you whether or not you're having a heart attack or your pulse. I mean,
Right?
you can rely on a blood pressure and kind of be like, "Oh, this is stroke level."
Yeah.
But, it's hard. I mean, sometimes I can't tell you how many people I know have had heart attacks and found out when they went to their doctor later and the doctor was like, "When did you have a heart attack?" And they were like, "I had a heart attack."
Yeah.
You know?
That's the
And,
thing.
and I think that
Yeah.
that's one of those things. If they can catch it whenever they catch it, then that's good. And I
Mm.
will say that from that standpoint, Nikki, I still believe that you are in more pain than I have been in while I was having the heart attack. Not
I
after
don't
they
know.
cracked me open,
Oh yeah, after
'cause
they cracked it, hoo.
that
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, no
But
kidding. I'm surprised you're
before,
talking to us. Like
yeah.
you are the man.
We're
Well,
happy to have you back,
Absolutely.
well, thank
and
you so
we're
much.
glad
I
that
miss
you
you guys all
survived.
so much, and I'm glad that
And
Tommy Tom
most
promised.
importantly, more than anything else, we decided that Nikki gets first dibs on Sam if the
That's
worst should
right.
happen.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
take good
let her
care of her, I
know.
promise.
I'll let her know that she's been claimed like on The
Yeah.
Walking Dead.
Just give her to me in your will. It's fine.
Yeah, just will Sam to Nikki.
Yeah,
It would save a lot of problems.
we could
Because
hang out in bed together. Like just her and I, and not even in a sexy way. Like
yeah,
just my bed is like adjustable and it vibrates and I've got a TV right in front of it. You know what I'm
so she
saying?
has the same she has the same thing. You guys could
Yes.
hook your beds up.
Yes.
You could literally
One
have like
giant double bed,
12
Well,
feet of
that's what mine
bed.
is a king. Yeah.
a
You
Yeah, so
could.
quadruple
hers is a
bed.
king.
Yeah, mine's a dual king, so it's two extra long twins. See, we could just add y'all's to it. Why don't you just move in now? Or I'll move in with you.
Yeah,
Me and William will just mush our beds together. And me and Sam could be invalids together. It'll be awesome.
it would look like
This
Charlie
is
and the Chocolate Factory.
Right, it
Oh,
really would.
speaking of that,
this is like all the best parts of lesbian sex and all the worst parts as well. Just ruining. Like porn lied to us. Let's just
yeah.
straight up admit it. Porn has lied to us.
It
All right,
has.
Gary wants to get in on that action.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
let's do
Gary.
it. Absolutely. I am all down for people let's just have all the women that listen to the show up in their pajamas and we'll just lay around and watch stupid movies
Yeah,
and eat
and
snacks
have
and be in
fights
pain
with ice
together.
water.
And all the
Yeah.
men
No,
could just
there
stand
needs to be a
around
fountain
and watch
of
them
pillows.
and wait for something sexy to happen and then be incredibly disappointed.
Horribly disappointed when we just snuggle up together and eat popcorn and complain about our pains, wrapped
Yeah,
up in heating pads.
and we'll rush it. Richard
But
and I
yeah,
will be like,
we divvied up your wife while
Hmm.
you're
yeah.
in hospital. Just
Richard and I will be like, don't you worry about Russia. I'm really concerned about it. Come on, fight. You pretend you're East Ukraine, and I'll pretend that I'm West Ukraine. You guys can pillow fight over it.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
totally a thing.
That would be the
Yeah.
most half-hearted pillow fight. Could you imagine like one good hit and whoever threw the pillow or hit with the pillow, arm dislocated?
No. I get first dibs on A Space NG, Gary. All right, you just bugger off.
No, I get her.
Nah, I call
What?
dibs.
I
You
don't
get
care.
Kevin's wife.
I don't care. I get all the women
You get
because
Kevin's wife and Gabby. That was the deal.
no, we never had a deal about Ange, so
Well,
I get her too because I'm a woman and I'm less threatening than a guy with a penis.
Yeah, but she's like
Um,
so straight, it's not even
I just
funny.
that's cool, but I bet you she'd snuggle with me.
Yeah, I bet you should snuggle with me and Kevin.
Cool, but it wouldn't be as awesome. I have tits, and even straight women like tits.
That's true. That is
Yeah.
unfortunately true.
That
Yeah,
is
it's
true.
100% true. And easily, I can get a strap on. So there you go. She can just close her eyes and
What?
pretend I'm somebody else.
That just went all the way
To a totally different level. He said she was straight. I'm just saying.
So she's straight.
I feel like you're cheating at this point.
Listen, I can't
Listen,
help it that
my-
women can replace men very easily.
Back-
Yeah, but how come
My
if
friend
that's the
Lisa
case-
once told me that dildos are not the same as a living penis, even remotely.
that
So,
friend Lisa lied.
I don't think she did.
She absolutely did.
I think you're over there right
it's
now.
better. It's better.
in-
Listen,
in Liar
listen. Do
Pig
you have
Town.
12 speeds, Mr. Sir?
Yeah, I do actually.
You have 12 speeds and you can make your
I
dick
have-
swivel in weird ways all the time.
I have
the entire
24 speeds,
You have
and I can adjust my position so my dick moves in different ways. So yeah, I got
yeah,
you
but
beat.
not the same. It's not the same. Gabby,
It is absolutely.
Gabby, tell me,
Yeah,
help me
Gabby.
out, girl.
Yeah, come on,
You have a
Gabby.
vagina.
Tell
Let's do
us.
this.
Tell us what's better, a dildo or a live dick? Come on, Gabby. You have the deciding vote.
That's
Not the
right.
same.
They aren't the same. One is better.
Rubber is not the same as flesh, which is better. Come on, Gabby.
It's not
Well,
rubber,
no, I
though.
think-
you can get
I think it
silicone ones
depend-
that feel very real.
Yeah, but Nikki, do you not think that it depends on the scenario?
I'm saying that one
I mean,
gives
because
a woman
sometimes you- some-
whatever
sometimes
she's
you just
wanting
wanna
at
be
the time.
Close to something.
That's true, and then you can
No,
snuggle
all
someone.
I'm saying is yeah. All I'm saying is sometimes you just want to be close to somebody.
That's true.
And
It's the end
therefore-
of the show.
you
We
know,
can
that-
talk about porn. We just
Yeah.
want to know, from a woman's point of view, Gabby, is a live dick better than a dildo?
Not different.
Better.
Which one makes you gives you more pleasure on the regular basis?
And don't let the fact that I am the owner of this channel and can block you from this dissuade your decision in any way, shape, or form.
He's not going to
That's
block
just
you,
cool.
Gabby. She won't answer because she knows the truth.
Yeah, it does seem
I think
like
that's
she's
a fair
not answering.
I think that's
Which-
I think that's a
I
that's
think that
fair.
you're trying to mansplain to me my own body.
I'm not trying to mansplain to
Hey.
you shit. I'm just saying that, a dildo's all well and good, but
Oh
every
yeah,
once
it's
in a
real
while,
good. Every
but
once in a
women
while, the real thing
prefer-
is cool.
but women prefer a live throbbing member to a dildo.
Only if they know what they're doing with it, brother.
Exactly, 100%, and most of them don't because of the porn thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have sex with a porn dude.
Nah, no, you wouldn't. And most guys watch it, so they think that that's the right way to do it. So it's not good.
Right.
Whoever the fuck watches porn and thinks that's the right way of doing it, then they've got a whole host
Hey,
of other problems.
Hey, men have that problem. Women have the problem with reading smut books and then finding out that men are never going to be like that. And then somewhere in your 20s, you're reading a smut book and then you just go, why am I reading this? It's just depressing.
Why do women read those crappy books anyway? They're really badly written.
Not all of them are badly written, though. There are a few authors that I used to collect. They were very well written.
All right, Gabby says she prefers dick, so
No, she did not. She said she likes pegging, so she prefers giving dick.
no,
You're
no,
welcome.
no. She prefers a live dick to dildos.
That's not what
You
she
lose.
said. That's not what
That's-
she said at all. She did not
That
say
is
that.
totally what she said.
Go ahead and screen cap and put it up on the little bottom part where she said that. You can't because it doesn't exist.
There you go. You lose.
No, I don't.
You are wrong in every conceivable sense of the word.
Oh, I like how
Accept
you put that
defeat.
up there as if,
Accept defeat and
that's
walk
not
away.
what happens. That is not what
Accept
happens.
defeat, Nikki.
I don't. You know, I don't accept defeat because you're cheating, and that's
I'm
not what
not
happened.
cheating. She actually said that, and that was the deciding
Where?
factor.
That was how many? That was how many? How long?
That
ago
was
did you say
literally
that?
the second to last comment. So
No, it's not.
I
Unless
like Dick.
hold on, I'm looking at the
There you
wrong
go.
thing. Then hold up.
There you go.
Hold up.
Gabby's all like, I prefer Dick. You
Oh, I
lose.
see. YouTube. I was reading on YouTube, not on the chat on the stream.
You lose. I like live Dick in my kitty. That was her last comment.
Okay,
You lose.
fine. Gabby, we're no longer friends. Just kidding.
You've just lost a powerful ally, Gabby.
I'll never forgive you.
Thanks, Gabby. Seriously, you're the best.
Yes.
What a suck up. It has nothing to do with the fact that you threatened her.
Right.
We are half an hour
think what
over,
we
guys.
should do is-
Yeah. We're gonna wrap this shit up.
I
Okay,
know,
Kevin.
we should
Now
do
that you are the returning champion, so what do you want to talk about next week?
Yeah, give him more stress. He just had a heart attack. Great.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do want to say that we need to send a letter to Putin saying, "Do you like live dick or strap on?" Because we'll give it to you either way if you just leave Ukraine alone.
I love the energy. Just antagonize the small dick fucking megalomaniac. That's brilliant.
I think let's do it, baby. Let's get on the plane.
Tora,
we could be in Moscow.
Tora.
Okay.
Okay, no.
Moscow.
We've seriously got to wrap things up now. What
Yes,
do you want
please,
to talk
thank
about
you.
next week?
Okay, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about ICU. I still didn't tell all the good stories that I have from my ICU. What do you call that?
Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll talk about cabbage. Jesus.
We'll talk about
Kevin.
cabbage.
We'll talk about Kevin's hospital experience next week.
No, I want to
Cam-
talk about weird experiences that people have, and now how I think it
that's
can
fair.
be totally real.
Okay.
You know, Nikki's got some weird ass A&E
right.
stories as well. So
What?
Yeah. So just think
uh,
about weird stories that people have done, Nikki, because my
Like-
dad told me weird stories about whenever he was in the hospital.
Oh,
you know,
you're talking about
about-
like weird things that have had to me in the hospital, or weird things that my patients have done while I was in the hospital.
either
Both.
way.
Okay, because I have more of the latter.
We'll just talk about weird hospital stories.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
All right. So that's night SoFlo, night Gabby, night everybody else who listened, who didn't comment in the chat. We love you all the same. Rod, Dean. I already said
SoFlo.
SoFlo.
Gabby.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Nikki's mad at you, Gabby. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Just get her some flowers. She'll be fine.
I don't even need flowers. Flowers die. Just give me some candy.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: would you like real flowers or plastic flowers?
How about you go to the dollar store? I would like plastic flowers, BT dubs. But you can just go to the dollar store and pick me up some Muddy Buddies, which are chocolate covered gummy bears. They're like $1. And all will be forgiven. Or
Nikki rarely gets
Sour
real
Patch
flowers, so she wouldn't know the difference.
I've never wait. I think I've gotten one bouquet of flowers in my life.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers, pal.
That wraps up this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. It's good night from me, and it's good night from them.
Good night.
Disco sucks.